Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Catrice and I am the creator behind Catrice Designs. Today's video, we are going to make these corner bookmarks and I'm going to show you my process, which is a really easy 1, 2, 3 step process that I use to make these bookmarks with. And I use a simple Singer sewing machine, so you really don't need anything fancy to sew these on. And you can also make these by hand with the needle and thread because they are just that easy to do. So let me reposition the camera and we can go ahead and get started into the video. Okay friends, so we are going to start with the corner bookmarks, and these are great for using up all of your scrap pieces of fabric, and I keep mine stored in this bin here along with a few other bins that I have on the shelf already. So what I do is typically just kind of go through and pick out some not so matchy pieces, because I think that is what makes these one of my best selling items, is the fact that they're just fun, colorful, playful type bookmarks. And right off the back, I think, now I normally sit and spend hours and hours looking at my scraps and trying to figure out the best combination that's, you know, not so on brand, as I like to say. And off the back, I think I'm going to use, well, not think, I know, I'm going to use these two striped pieces here. These two here. So this will be my back panel and the front panel, and I probably will pair them with that, or yeah, I'll pair it with this for starters. And these particular squares, they're all cut to 5 by 5, but I'm going to trim them down to 4.5 by 4.5. And we'll get to that part when we get to the cutting table. And honestly, I think, so this is where I end up losing so much time, because y'all know I have to overthink everything. Let's go. Oh, this is pretty. Let's do this. I like that. Okay, so this is stripe. It's got red burgundy stripes, but I'm going to make the folded corner part with this orange. All right, so let's head to the cutting table. Oh, this is pretty. Huh, okay. We're going to leave it. We're going to leave it with this. All right, so now let's head over to the cutting table. And then, and actually, I might just bring my mat here and then I just cut right here on this table. So what I'm going to do is trim the front and the back panel down, and then I'm going to cut the exact size that I need from this piece of fabric for the folded corner top. All right, so let me bring the mat to this table. All right, so I'm back at the craft table and I've got my mat out here, and I'm going to start with these two pieces and just kind of put them together, and they measure out at 5 by 5. So now I am going to trim them down to 4.5 by 4.5, and then that will give me the finished size that I want, including the seam allowance. Oops, I think it's time for me to change my blade. Okay, so I'm going to do this one real quickly and then do that fabric there. And there we have it, 4.5 by 4.5. So what I did was I just took the two pieces of fabric and cut them both at the same time. So now they're even, same size. And then the corner one, you don't have to be so precise when you're cutting the top because it is going to fold, but try to get it as close to 4.5 as you can. So talking to beginner sewists, one of the things you may struggle with the most is cutting. But once you get that down, you are good to go. And it just takes practice, practice, practice. I can't tell you how many of these I made before I started selling them. I mean, I went through some fabric because I had to experiment with the right size that I wanted for my bookmarks. Because people do them, I've seen them do them really teeny tiny. Is that 4.5? Okay, yeah. All right. So, got the two pieces, 4.5 by 4.5 on each one. So now what I'm going to do is add a piece of stabilizer, which is really, really thin, just to kind of give it a little bit of stiffness, but not too much, because we don't want it to rip the pages off. I was cutting that piece of thread off. And let me get the stabilizer. And so the next step is going to be to press it down on the back of the fabric, not the folded one, just your two panel pieces. Alrighty, so I've got the heat press heating up, and what I'm going to do is just press the wrinkles out of this top panel, and then the front and the back panel pieces are going to have the stabilizer on it. Oh, and you see how thin that is? We just want a really thin piece, because keep in mind this is going to go inside your book. And you want to trim this just shy of your measurements. I'm just kind of eyeballing. You don't have to get the tape out or anything. Just kind of eyeball it. And one side feels a little grainy, and the top side feels smooth. You want the grainy portion on the back of the fabric. That's the glue. That's what's going to stick to the bookmark. So you want to cut it just shy of your fabric. And that will keep the glue off your heat press or whatever you're pressing. If you don't have a heat press, you can still do this project, because this is a beginner themed project for today. So if you don't have a heat press, you can use an iron. It will do the exact same thing. And I've got this trimmed. Yeah, let me trim this just a little bit. Okay. All right, so heat press at about 2, it's depending on your heat press. For mine, I have the HTV Runt, the auto heat press, and I usually do about 210 degrees for something like this for 8 seconds. And that's pretty much all you need to get the glue down. If you're using a regular home iron, just put it on steam and lay it on there, and you're going to get the exact same results. So no worries there. All right, so let me go to the press, get this done, and then I'll come back and show you. Okay, so we are back from the heat press. I went ahead and steamed the folded portion, folded and gave it a good press. And then the stabilizer is on here nice and firm, so there's no lifting or anything, and that is how that looks. And as you can see, it is still very movable, but it has some structure. Now what we're going to do, put everything in place. So you want to take your folded piece. Now for me, because both pieces of this fabric is the exact same thing, but if you have one that is a front and a back difference, then you want to pay close attention to where you're laying this. But for me, I am just going to go ahead and put this across like that. So you want your top piece to go like that. And actually, I was going to trim this down a little bit, but I think I'm just going to leave it like that. You can do it either way. I'm just going to leave mine like that. And then you want to take your next piece, pretty side to pretty side. And then you want to fold it down. And these are stripes, so I got to make sure my stripes are going in the right direction. Okay. All right, so that's what you should see. You should see the back on both sides. And now, so let's do that one more time. You have your two panels. You're going to lay them down like that. However you need to lay them so that they are matching. Okay. You want to take your folded and you're going to put the corner of the fold to the corner edge of the square. So this is what you want. Now, once you do that, you're going to take the next piece and fold it on top. So, and make sure everything is lined up even as you can. Okay. And then you lay it on top. So you've got that and that. Now we are going to pin. You can pin or clip. I use clips because that's just my preference. So I'm going to use clips. Whoops. Or you can use pins. And if you're new to sewing, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, it's easier for you to start out with clips. But use what you have. All right, so I am pinning, I keep saying pinning, clipping. That is how the top part looks when you clip it. And we are going to go all the way around the side until we get to this. So you go around like that. Now, cross down and over. When you get to, this is the side. When you get to that side, you want to put a clip here, and then you're going to skip down about 4 inches, 3 or 4 inches, and put a clip there. So when you're new to sewing, give yourself grace. So leave yourself enough room to turn whatever you're making inside out, if you need to do that. So in this case of the corner bookmarks, we need to flip this inside out once we come back from the machine. So if you can visualize, the corner folded part is running diagonally right here. So I left my space here to flip because it's going to be an easier turn inside out without having to be too bothered with this extra piece of bulk of material. So now let's head over to the machine. And then what we're going to do, we're going to start here. We're going to start left to right and then down and back over to the left. We're going to come up to about here, back stitch. We're going to skip over to here, back stitch, and close it in. Okay? So across, down, over, up, back stitch, skip, meaning leave an opening here. Don't keep the needle down and sew up to here. So skip to here, back stitch, and close it up there. And then we're going to come back and I will show you how to turn it inside out, give it another press, and we have our corner bookmark. Okay, so let's head over to the machine. Okay, so we're at the machine. And remember when I was talking about skipping, go here, backspace, skip, go here and backspace. So that's one way you can do it, or you can start here in backspace and then you can start here in backspace and then go up and around all the way around to here in backspace. So it's kind of up to you, however what you want to do. I think when I first started sewing these, I did the original way that I told you guys to do until I got adjusted to sewing. So, but whatever is most comfortable for you. And I am sewing on a Singer Patchwork sewing machine. And for my machine, I'm using the straight stitch You can use, if you have a machine that does decorative stitches, you can do that as well, or just do the straight stitch, because nobody's going to see the decorative stitch when you flip it inside out. But use whatever stitch makes you most comfortable. And then I have my settings at stitch length at 2.5 for the length and 2.5 for the width. But your machine may work better on something totally different than mine. So I am going to go with that, and then just go ahead and, so when I start sewing in this spot that I'm in, I'm going to sew a couple of steps forward and then a couple of back and come back forward again. And that's called locking in your stitch. And then when I go to turn it inside out, it's not going to rip the stitches. And I just fast forward this part of the video. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention is put your needle in the down position. I guess it's called the down position, yeah. So you want to put it, so when you go and make your corner turns, you get a nice professional looking turn on your corners. But if you don't, that's fine. Just make sure you're turning easily. So what I'm doing now is just snipping off those extra pieces of thread. Okay, so we're going to go back over to the craft table and get this trimmed and turn inside out and take a look at what we have. All right, so we have the bookmark. So what I'm going to do now is trim a little bit. So my thread line is here, and I'm going to just trim some of this excess fabric off just to make it not so bulky. And the same thing on the edge where we left the opening, but don't trim that part too close, because when you're just starting out making these, you need to give yourself all the space and room that you can when you go to fold that corner back in. Okay, and then I'm going to just kind of snip these corners a little diagonally and go that way, all four corners. All right, so now it is time for the fun part. It's turning this inside out, and as long as you back stitched, you can, those seams you can use not too much force, but as much force as you need to get it flipped in. And make sure you take the time to push in your corners. And sometimes when you turn this fabric, if your corner fabric is some type of print fabric and it looks like it's on the wrong side, don't panic. Just, if it looks like it's on the wrong side, just take it and push it over like that. And for me, it doesn't matter because I don't have any directional fabric that I'm using in this particular video. I remember when I first made these and I had it was flower fabric, and I was like, oh my gosh, I turned it the wrong way. But then you just flip it over. Okay, so now this is what we have, a nice little corner bookmark. And let's take a measurement test. Yep, and it's 3.5 by 3.5. So if you cut it at 4.5, if you start out with 4.5 by 4.5, and you use your seam allowance correctly on all four sides should be the same at 3.5 by 3.5. All right, so now we can do one or two things. I've seen, you can actually take a needle and thread and sew inside this little opening so that make it so it can close up and it won't have a stitch line. You can do that, but because I sell mine and I make these in bulk, I don't have time to sit here and hand stitch anything. So what I do, go to the machine and I do a top stitch around just this side and this side. You could go around all four sides, but I don't really like that look for mine. So I am going to do just the three sides. And then we will get a book and do a test to see how well it fits. So let me go back to the machine. I won't show that on camera because I think you guys get the idea. I'm just going to stitch down here and across here. And I'm trying to decide what color thread. Oh, and this is the part where if you have a machine and it has the decorative stitches, this would be a good place to put those decorative stitches, so that way it looks like it was intentional, which I mean it is because we're closing up a seam, but it'll just give it a nice different little look to it. And then you can also give it a quick steam because it gets a little wrinkly. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the machine and stitch this across, give it a press, then come back and show you guys how this fits on a book. Okay, so there we have it. What I did was just started at the top, and I chose a thread color that kind of matched this little stripe here, which is a dark burgundy. So I started here, went down, and just went across there. And that is what the front looks like, and the back, the front again, and then that is the inside of the flip part. So that is the quick, easy, simple way to make a fabric corner bookmark. It literally takes probably no more. If I wasn't filming, I could have done this in probably 5 minutes. You know, once I spend 37,000 hours picking out the color. So let's see how this works on the page. So basically you just slip it in like that, and it's going to fit like that and like that, which is perfect for holding your space. Now, if you are a planner girly like I am, it also will work in your standard size planner. So you can do like that. So either way, you have your cute little corner bookmark. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you have any questions on the fabric that I used or threads, or if I wasn't too specific on anything, just let me know and I will happily answer them. Just leave me a comment and I'll answer, any questions that you guys have. So I hope you enjoyed this little quick mini tutorial for this cute little corner bookmark. And if I didn't say, the finished size is 3.5 by 3.5 if you are using the 4.5 fabric that I cut down. So those should be your dimensions. Okay, friends, thank you all so much for tuning in to today's video, and hopefully you found this information helpful on how easy it is to make these little fabric corner bookmarks. They really are simple to make, and if you don't have a sewing machine, you really don't need one because they're so small. You can just hand stitch all the way around and you can come up with the exact same results. It's just all in how you cut your fabric. But thank you all again. I appreciate you all watching. And if you can, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. So until next time, friends, I will see you all in the very next video. Bye.